Apologies for the delay on getting an episode out. I've been just kind of really busy, a bunch of different changes in my business and all that. So I don't know how long this one's going to be. I'm going to kind of wing it. I have an idea and I came to a realization. It's interesting because it's a realization that I come to somewhat regularly. So in Stoic philosophy, and this is definitely some stuff I've talked about, but like since I've kind of just had a fresh experience with it, I just wanted to kind of share it with you guys because I don't know, I feel like we need to hear the same information and obviously we need to relearn the same lessons, and this will get into kind of like how I'm dealing with that right now. So let's see, how do I do this? So in Stoic philosophy, really like the core principle, I don't know if that's the right terminology, but like one of the things you hear the most in this philosophy is that you need to focus on the things you can control and not focus on the things that you can't. And so you can put that in a lot of different contexts and in a lot of different scenarios. And it makes sense in just about anything you can put it to. So I'll try to make this brief because I don't know if like all the details of why I came to this realization are going to be interesting to talk about, but maybe they will be. So I do all the advertising for my business. You know, I do the ads and all that kind of stuff. I used to work with an agency and kind of wasn't super happy with how that was going. And so I ended up deciding to learn all of that stuff myself, how to run the ads and how to track them and track the data and you know, optimize things and all that stuff. So I've been doing that for a couple of years. I don't know if I'm good at it or you know, if I just am proficient. Trying to think of a way to explain this so that it's not just super boring, but there's a couple different ways to track whether or not your ads are performing well. And so you're looking at your return on ad spend. So for example, I have two different ways of tracking. So Facebook has their own sort of tracking metrics and it'll tell you, you know, you're getting this much return on your ad spend. So for every dollar you spend, you get this many dollars back. Or if it's the other way around, every dollar you spend, you're losing, you know, 60 cents or something like that. So if your ads are performing really poorly, you're going to see numbers like that. So there's all this kind of talk that those numbers aren't quite right, and the analytics aren't super reliable. So there's other third-party software, and there's one that I use that is supposed to be way more accurate. So I was running into these issues with my ads where Facebook is telling me that my ads are performing really, really well. So in that case, as an advertiser, you would increase your budget on those things. I know this is getting a little bit technical, and I'm going to get into like the whole philosophy on why. I don't know. I thought maybe I'd give you some context so that, I don't know. I don't know why. I just, you know, let's just get back into it. I'm kind of fucking struggling. So anyway, I use this other tracking software that gives me a different number. So Facebook's telling me these one ads are doing awesome, whereas the tracking software is telling me I'm losing money every day on these ads. So I have a guy that I hired that I consult with, this is what he does for a living. So we kind of talk about our stuff once a week and kind of figure out, you know, should we turn this off? Should we spend more here? Should we do this and that, all these kind of things. And so it's been really stressing me out because I'm like, fuck, I don't know. If you turn them off, then, you know, what's going to happen? If you turn off all these ads, then all of a sudden, like, we're not going to get these sales. But if we're losing money on them, then, you know, then that's not good either. So long story short, we ended up deciding to go with just what the tracking software data said and turned off a few ads. And then all of a sudden sales dipped pretty significantly. So as an entrepreneur, I'm one of those kind of people that, like, when you see a dip in sales, my mind immediately goes to worst case scenario, like everything's going to go to shit and all this kind of stuff. And even though there was a cause that happened and then there was an effect, my brain still kind of goes to that worst case scenario. Maybe like all these things are happening and, you know, everything's going to crash around me. You know, that's kind of like, I have a hard time keeping my mind from going to that place. And so that's sort of what's been happening. And so back to the Stoic philosophy, what's been happening for me is when I'm seeing all these things and I'm trying to make these decisions and having a difficult time making these decisions, I came to the realization actually this morning that I have not been following the Stoic philosophy, and I have been focusing almost 100% on the outcome and not focusing on the thing that I can control, which is what I do, which is my actions. And so I noticed that what was happening is I was allowing my focus on the outcome to stress me out so much that I wasn't performing as well on the things that I actually have control over. So I think that's part of why they have that. I mean, I don't know, maybe that might be like the vast majority of the reason why you would follow that particular philosophy, because if you're always focused on the outcome and you're always focused on like what's going to happen, then whether or not, I mean, I guess if it's favorable, then maybe that's good. But I mean, you're putting a lot of attention and energy into the part that you don't have any control over. So anything you do in your life, you have control over the part that you do. So you can apply that to anything. Like, for example, like let's put it into graph. Let's say you have this aspirations of being this big, well-known writer, that outcome is outside of your control. You could do all of the stuff that you think you need to do and still not achieve that outcome, because there's a lot of factors in there that you just don't have any control over. Like, in your eyes, your shit could be the best out there, but it doesn't fit into most people's personal taste. Maybe your taste is different than everybody else. So when they see your shit, they're like, not affected by it in the same way you are. So your only option really is I guess you can focus on the outcome, but it's in my opinion, it's counterproductive. So if you were to say, this is the outcome I want to achieve, now what would it take to do that? And then just put 100% of your energy into that part. What would it take to do that? What do I need to do? Do I need to draw every day? Do I need to research? Do I need to find mentors? Do I need to join a crew that's doing what I want to do? Those are all things that are within your control to a certain extent. I mean, you can't control whether or not that crew is going to let you in, but you can control your actions that are going to try to get you into that particular group of people, And so you could really apply this to anything. And it's the same thing with like even fitness, like inputs and outputs. Like, let's say you wanted to get healthy. Most likely, if you change your eating habits and all this kind of stuff and exercise and do all these things, most likely you're going to achieve a certain outcome. But the exact outcome, that's not 100% in your control, because you can't really control whether or not you get injured or you get sick, or if you don't quite understand nutrition, or, I don't know, any number of things, like your shit is not balanced, or you don't know how to properly exercise. I don't know. There's a lot of things that could happen that may not lead to your goal outcome. But then it goes back to, what is it that's within your control? The actions, what food you eat, how you move, what kind of information you're absorbing, all these kind of things that are within your control. And then, in fact, now that I'm talking about that, I don't know, I've mentioned this a lot, but I was pretty unhealthy for most of, I guess as a kid, I was healthy because we were more active, at least that's my perception. We didn't have devices and shit. Like, we barely had video game consoles. So a lot of times, we would leave the house and not come back until it was dark. We'd be out just doing all kinds of shit with our friends and stuff. So we had an active lifestyle, even though we kind of ate pretty shitty food. So I wasn't necessarily unhealthy until like I became an adult. So I would say I don't know, a good portion of my 20s and 30s, I was pretty unhealthy and I was overweight. There was a period in my 20s where I'd gotten really good shape, and then I lost it all, went completely back to being unhealthy. And then I had been doing this thing for a very long time where I would lose like 20, 30 pounds, and then I'd put it back on. Then I would lose it again, and I'd put it back on, and I'd kind of get in pretty good shape, and then I'd get in shitty shape. It was just kind of on and off, on and off. And I'm still kind of like that, just not to the extreme. Like I don't go that far back. Like I might get a little bit softer than I like, and I'll be like, oh man, I got to snap back into it. But I never get to the point where I feel like I'm overweight or, completely out of shape. But I still kind of do that. But the thing is, where I was failing a lot in that journey, I feel like, is I was doing exactly what I'm talking about. Whereas whenever I would try to lose weight or burn fat and put on muscle and these kind of things throughout my time, I was always focused on the outcome, and I still kind of do that. And the times that I was the most successful is when I stopped focusing on the outcome. Like I actually threw the scale away, because I was like getting up every day and weighing myself, and then if the scale didn't change, or if it went up, I was disappointed. And so my focus was mainly on what I wanted to achieve, and not focused on the work that I needed to do every day in order to accomplish that goal. And so, I feel like this morning, last night I woke up at like 2:00 in the morning, and I was all stressed out about all this ads shit, and I was just like, fuck man, I got to get this thing figured out. And so I got up, and it was like, I don't know, it was like 3:00 in the morning, and I'm just like kind of writing this huge power list that I was going to do today. And I've been working on that stuff. And then that's when it just dawned on me. I'm like, fuck man, that's why I'm so stressed out, is because I'm focusing on this outcome. And I need to if I put all of my energy on the tasks that I have control over, it's most likely that I'm going to get a much better outcome than I have been getting over this last month. So I think that pretty much covers it. So I just wanted to jump on and because I had this sort of like realization this morning, and it was something that I needed. And I tend, as humans, it seems like we tend to, a lot of us tend to have the same issues, so whether it's, regardless if you have a business or if you're focusing on the outcome of anything you want to achieve, then what I find kind of stripped away a lot of my stress. I mean, I'm still stressed. I don't know if that's ever going to change, but my stress levels went down significantly when I came to this realization that I was doing the opposite of what Stoic philosophy has taught me to do, which is I've been putting a lot of my energy on stressing out about the outcome. And then in retrospect, when I looked back over the last month, I was like, you know what? Like I can see that I haven't been performing as well. And I feel like that's why, because I've been burning a ton of energy by focusing on the part of this whole fucking equation that I don't have any control over. So the only action step I would say is just, if you're struggling with something, just take a look at it. See if you're doing what I was doing. See if you're focused on the outcome and you're allowing that to kind of drain your energy or stress you out to the point where you're not sleeping well or not performing well, and try to shift your energy over to the controllables, which is your actions. And that's all you have control over. All right. Good.
Appreciate each and every one of you guys who are supporting the cause and continue to spread the love. And stay up.